The air in the room was thick with dust, a testament to the time that had passed since anyone had disturbed this space. Ava coughed, waving her hand through the musty air, trying to clear a path through the particles that danced in the sunlight streaming through the window. Shadows danced in the flickering light of her phone's flashlight, creating eerie shapes that seemed to move with a life of their own. She was surrounded by boxes, forgotten furniture, and the lingering presence of her grandfather. Each item held a memory, a fragment of a life once lived. He had been gone for a year, but this room, his study, still felt like his. She missed him deeply, the ache of his absence a constant companion. Ava knelt beside a dusty box labeled Memories, her fingers tracing the faded letters. It was as if the box itself was a portal to the past. Inside, she found old photographs, letters, and a worn-out cassette tape. Each photograph was a snapshot of a moment frozen in time, each letter a whisper from the past. The label simply read, Ava. Her pulse quickened as she held the tape, the weight of it heavy with unspoken words. Her grandfather had always called her Ace. Why this sudden formality? The question gnawed at her, adding to the mystery. She grabbed her grandfather's old cassette player from the shelf, the device a relic from a bygone era. It was heavier than she remembered, its weight a physical reminder of the past she was about to uncover. She inserted the tape and pressed play, her heart pounding in anticipation of what she might hear.
Ava, if you're hearing this, then something terrible is about to happen. The voice was unmistakably her grandfather's, but there was an urgency she had never heard before. You need to find the green notebook. His words were clear, but their meaning was shrouded in mystery. It's hidden in the attic behind the old grandfather clock. The instructions were precise, as if he had planned for this moment. Time is running out, Ace. Please be careful. The urgency in his voice sent a chill down her spine.
The tape clicked to an end. Ava stared at it, her heart pounding. The silence that followed was deafening. A terrible premonition washed over her. The weight of her grandfather's words pressed down on her, filling her with a sense of urgency. She knew, with chilling certainty, that her grandfather's warning was real. The task ahead was daunting, but she had no choice. She had to find the green notebook and uncover the secrets it held. Determination surged through her. She would honor her grandfather's last request, no matter the cost. Ava walked towards the old house, her mind racing with questions. What could be in the green notebook? Why was it so important? She opened the creaky door, the sound echoing through the empty house. Each step she took was a step closer to the truth. Climbing the narrow staircase, she felt the weight of history pressing down on her. The attic was just ahead, and with it, the answers she sought. Reaching the top of the stairs, she paused, taking a deep breath. This was it, the moment of truth. She pushed open the attic door, the musty smell of old wood and forgotten memories filling her senses. Ava began searching through the old items, moving boxes and furniture, her eyes scanning for the old grandfather clock. Finally, she found it. The old grandfather clock stood tall, a silent guardian of the secrets it held. She moved the clock aside, revealing a hidden compartment behind it. Her heart raced as she reached inside. There it was, the green notebook, dusty and worn, but unmistakably the one her grandfather had mentioned. She opened it, her eyes scanning the handwritten notes. Each page was filled with her grandfather's meticulous handwriting, detailing secrets and stories she had never known. Ava knew that this was just the beginning. The notebook was a key to a past she had yet to uncover, and a future she had to protect. With the notebook in hand, she walked out of the attic, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her mind, guiding her every step. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the garden, Ava felt a sense of peace. She was not alone. Her grandfather's spirit was with her, guiding her through the darkness. She looked up at the sky, the stars twinkling like beacons of hope. The journey ahead was uncertain, but she was ready. With the green notebook in hand and her grandfather's voice in her heart, Ava knew she could face anything. The attic stairs creaked under Ava's weight. Each step she took seemed to echo through the empty house, a reminder of the silence that had settled over it for years. The wood groaned as if it were alive, protesting her intrusion into its forgotten depths. Cobwebs clung to her face as she climbed, the darkness pressing down like a suffocating blanket. She brushed them away, feeling the sticky threads cling to her fingers. The air grew colder with each step, and she could almost hear the whispers of the past in the rustling of the webs. The air was stale and heavy, filled with the scent of decay and forgotten things. It was as if time had stopped in this place, leaving behind only the remnants of what once was. Dust motes danced in the faint light that filtered through the cracks in the walls, creating an eerie, almost magical atmosphere. She shivered, not just from the cold. There was something else, a feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes following her every move. Her breath came in short gasps, and she wrapped her arms around herself, trying to ward off the chill that seemed to seep into her very bones. Her grandfather's words echoed in her mind. Behind the old grandfather clock. She had always thought it was just a story, a way to keep her entertained with tales of hidden treasures and secret passages. But now, standing in the attic, she wondered if there was more truth to his words than she had ever realized. The attic was a maze of discarded furniture and covered in dust-laden sheets. Old trunks and boxes were stacked haphazardly, their contents long forgotten. She could almost hear the echoes of laughter and footsteps from years gone by, a ghostly reminder of the life that once filled this space. She moved slowly, her heart pounding with a growing sense of dread. Each step seemed to take an eternity, the silence around her amplifying the sound of her own breathing. She felt as if she were walking through a dream, the world around her shifting and changing with every movement. Finally, she spotted it, the grandfather clock, its face covered in a thick layer of dust. It stood tall and imposing, a silent guardian of the secrets it held. She reached out a trembling hand, her fingers brushing against the cold, smooth surface of the clock. With trembling hands, she pushed the heavy clock aside. It moved with a groan, revealing a small, hidden compartment behind it. Her heart raced as she reached inside, her fingers closing around something cold and hard. Behind it was a small green notebook, its leather cover cracked and faded. She pulled it out, her hands shaking with anticipation. The notebook felt heavy in her hands, as if it were filled with the weight of the secrets it contained. Ava's breath caught in her throat. This was it. This was the key to understanding her grandfather's warning. She opened the notebook, her eyes scanning the pages filled with strange symbols and diagrams. Each page seemed to hold a piece of the puzzle, a clue to the mystery that had haunted her family for generations.
"This is it," she whispered, her voice barely audible in the stillness of the attic.
The pages were filled with strange symbols, diagrams, and lists of times. Each symbol seemed to pulse with a hidden energy, drawing her in and filling her with a sense of wonder and fear. She could almost hear her grandfather's voice, guiding her through the maze of symbols and clues. Ava flipped through the pages, her confusion growing with each turn. The symbols and diagrams seemed to blur together, creating a dizzying array of images and patterns. She felt as if she were on the brink of understanding, but the meaning remained just out of reach. Then she saw it. A time. 3:24 p.m. The numbers seemed to jump off the page, burning themselves into her mind. She knew that this was the key, the final piece of the puzzle that would unlock the secrets of the attic. Scrawled beneath it, in her grandfather's shaky handwriting, was a single word: pulse. The word seemed to pulse with a life of its own, filling her with a sense of urgency and determination. She knew that she had to find out what it meant, to uncover the truth that had been hidden for so long. Ava took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. She knew that the journey would not be easy, but she was determined to uncover the secrets of the attic and understand her grandfather's warning. With the notebook in hand, she turned and made her way back down the creaky stairs, ready to face whatever challenges awaited her. As she descended, the weight of the notebook seemed to grow heavier, a constant reminder of the secrets it held. She could almost feel her grandfather's presence, guiding her and giving her the strength to continue. She knew that she was not alone, that the answers she sought were within her reach. Stepping out of the attic and into the light, Ava felt a sense of resolve wash over her. She was ready to face the unknown, to uncover the truth and bring light to the darkness that had shrouded her family's past. The attic's secrets were no longer hidden. and she was determined to uncover them all. Ava spent the next few hours hunched over her laptop, her brow furrowed in concentration. The park around her was serene, a stark contrast to the storm of thoughts swirling in her mind. She had always been good at puzzles, but this one was different. The symbols in the notebook were like nothing she had ever seen before. They seemed to dance on the page, mocking her with their complexity. Then she stumbled upon a website dedicated to cryptography. It was a treasure trove of information, filled with codes and ciphers from different eras. She felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could crack this code. She delved deeper, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she cross-referenced symbols and patterns. It was a long shot, but she had to try. Hours turned into a blur of frustration and dead ends. Each failed attempt felt like a personal defeat. She could feel the weight of the notebook pressing down on her, a constant reminder of the mystery she had yet to solve. Her eyes grew tired, and her back ached from sitting in the same position for so long.
Come on, she muttered under her breath, her frustration mounting. She was so close she could feel it, but the answer continued to elude her, slipping through her fingers like sand.
Just as she was about to give up, she found it. One of the symbols matched a rare cipher used during World War II. Her heart skipped a beat. This was it. This was the breakthrough she had been waiting for. With renewed energy, she began to decode the message, her hands trembling with excitement and fear. With trembling hands, she began to decode the message. The message was short, but its implications were terrifying. She could hardly believe what she was reading. It was a warning, a dire prediction of an event that could change everything.
EMP, 3:24 p.m. Tech Conference, City Center. The words echoed in her mind, each one more ominous than the last. She knew what an EMP was, but the thought of one being used in the heart of the city was almost too much to bear.
Ava's blood ran cold. An electromagnetic pulse. The implications were staggering. She had read about EMPs in her studies, but she never thought she would encounter one in real life. The thought of the city being plunged into darkness, its electronic infrastructure crippled, was terrifying. Her grandfather was warning her about an attack. She remembered his stories about the war, about the lengths people would go to in order to gain an advantage. He had always been a step ahead, always thinking about the future, and now it seemed he was trying to protect her from beyond the grave. She quickly researched EMP events. They were rare, but devastating. The more she read, the more her fear grew. An EMP could knock out power grids, disable communication networks, and bring a city to its knees. The thought of such chaos was almost too much to bear. A powerful burst of electromagnetic energy could fry electronic circuits within a certain radius, plunging entire cities into darkness. The images she found online were chilling. Cities that had been vibrant and full of life were reduced to ghost towns, their streets eerily silent and empty. Her mind raced back to the notebook. 3:24 p.m. The tech conference. It was all starting to make sense. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, and the picture they formed was one of impending disaster. She knew she had to act, but the question was, how? The clock was ticking, and the fate of the city rested in her hands. Ava glanced at the clock. 1:17 p.m. Less than 2 hours until the conference was scheduled to begin. She had to warn someone, but who would believe her? She had no proof, just a cryptic message and a gut feeling that screamed for her to act. She decided to call the police.
Please, someone has to listen.
Her voice trembled as she tried to explain the situation, but the officer on the other end of the line was dismissive.
Look, kid, we get prank calls all the time. How about you go watch a movie and relax, okay?
Ava hung up, her heart sinking. She couldn't give up. Too many lives were at stake. Desperation clawed at her. She had to get to the conference, find the device, stop this from happening. She jumped in her car and sped off, her mind racing. The city streets were a blur of noise and motion as she weaved through traffic, her knuckles white on the steering wheel.
Please let me be in time, please.